Good morning, everybody. I'm Michael Eisenmann, Chief Surveyor of Tea Engineers, and welcome to our show, Tea Time with Toby.
Hello everyone, my name is Ruggio, and I am a tea specialist and co-host of this brilliant show. For anybody not familiar with our show, we are two up-and-coming engineers that have a burning passion for drinking tea and even bigger passion for proposing measurements that put light on global issues.
Now today, not only will we be drinking some delicious, freshly brewed tea, but we'll be discussing a much more serious topic, the rise in sea levels.
Firstly, we would like to address what is responsible for the rise of sea levels and what we are measuring. We have a hypothesis of the frightening impacts of this global issue, but our episode today is focused on a proposed experiment that we believe will provide data and insight into the scale of this issue.
The most publicized cause of rising sea levels is the melting of polar ice caps due to global warming. The other cause is thermal expansion of the oceans. Unsurprisingly, it is also due to global warming.
It's getting kind of hot in here. It's sad, I can't even tell if it's global warming or the air conditioning isn't on. I can't even tell.
The experiment is to measure the rise in sea levels of the ocean. We are specifically interested in the change in sea levels over short periods of time to establish trends and determine the impacts that the rise in seawater will bring. The measurement is determined by the surface height of the water.
The tool that we propose will most accurately calculate the rise of the ocean is a JSON-free satellite.
A JSON-3 satellite is a very neat scientific tool. It sends radar pulses down to the surface of the Earth, and as those pulses bounce off of the surface, they go at a specific speed, and then the satellite measures the time that it takes to bounce off the surface of the water and then come back to the satellite. This time is then used to measure the height of the water.
Right, and we want to take a total of 520 measurements. That means once per week for 10 years. So with that amount of measurements, we'll have a large enough time frame that we can see a trend that makes sense and matches our hypothesis, hopefully.
The average of 52 measurements in a year can give us the height per year, and compared to the other years, we can see if there's a change in the height. We predict that the rise will accelerate too, and the rate at which it does accelerate may turn out to be important in predicting the height in the future.
So, the final measurement of a change in sea level may seem to be a really small number. At a glance, previous engineers have actually estimated it to be only going up by a matter of millimeters per year. Previously, in the 90s, it was about 1 millimeter per year. Then eventually, recently, it's close to 3 millimeters per year. So it may not seem like a lot, but if you think about that in terms of volume, the ocean stretches across the entirety of the planet. So all that surface area times the height, that's a large volume. And that's a lot of water that's getting added to the ocean every year. And also, as we predict, it's going to accelerate the rate of the rise of the ocean. And so if you are a beach lover, or you live on the coast, I would look away. But don't actually, because this information is most important for you. But yeah, just beware.
Little tea break. Wow.
Of course.
By the way, Toby, this tea you made is absolutely delicious. You really outdid yourself.
Oh, you're too kind, Mikey. You know, we should get back to an important issue. I mean, tea is great, but this isn't great, this topic we're talking about.
No, it is not
good.
So these measurements can help us answer a bunch of the public's questions and concerns. For people living on this coast, it would give property owners crucial information about possible risks that they may face, because it really is, with that great of a volume being added to the ocean, that water can make a huge impact to coastal property and definitely destroy a lot.
So, the measurement would be whether or not global climate change is really making the sea levels rise. Most times, the correlation between weather temperature and the rise of sea level could indicate if climate change is definitely the cause. For me, that tea must be too strong. For me, if the results prove that the sea levels are rising, this will almost be as big of an issue as when the tea was dumped into the Boston Harbor. So yeah, as Americans, you Americans are somewhat to blame for the rise in the sea level because all that precious tea was wasted. Just disgraceful, to be honest.
Toby, you are very funny, but your people did blow a 13 colony lead.
That sounds like a joke Professor Tucker would make.
That would be a joke.
And anyways, the method of using these satellites would probably be very expensive and hard to operate. Do you propose there could be any other way to calculate the rise in sea level?
So using this the satellite is definitely the most precise way to measure the height of the ocean. But an alternative and cheaper method would be either having walls where you can set up points that the water obviously is like going past, and then you can measure the period over certain periods of time, whether the water is going up like above that mark or below that mark to tell the height relative to that one specific point that you measured at one time. And then another method, but that would make it a little bit harder and less accurate because it isn't using waves and using calculations.
Yeah, you have to think about it like the waves. You have to like take loads of averages because the waves they go up and down like different heights all the time. There's tides as well. Like the moon like impacts the tide, so like at some points it'd be a lot higher on the wall than typically, and then some points when the tide's going the other way it'd be a lot lower than typical. So you have to take a lot of averages.
So for the viewers,
it wouldn't be as easy.
So for the viewers, Toby, how would you say this connects back to both our profession and the real world?
So yeah, luckily we're civil engineers, man. Come on, it's good. And this measurement is actually related to civil engineering, believe it or not. The rise in sea levels leads to possibilities of structures and properties along the coast being destroyed, and it impacts the building codes and safety regulations too. That's like those are all things you have to think about as a civil engineer.
It also is incorporated into environmental engineering because the rise in sea level can really disrupt offset habitats and environment and ecosystems and make it very difficult for these animals because it definitely does. It makes a big difference, the amount of water that is there.
You should not be lecturing me on environmental safety. I'm dumping all that tea in the harbour. So much tea wasted, and you try and lecture me on environmental problems. Come on.
All right, Toby. All right, settle down. Now, as you can see, we have this glass of water that's been sitting here since the beginning. Well, due to the heat in this room, obviously it's not as cold as it once was when it was in the freezer. However, these ice cubes have melted.
Bring that real close for them. So here, there's an initial mark from where the water level was at the beginning of class, and then this ice is melted, and now it sits at a level a lot higher than it was at the beginning of this talk, as you can see the dash there. And so we'd say that this ice represents the land, the caps on the land in the poles, because the ice is getting melted. It's also the ice in the water, but it's mostly the land ice that increases the volume of the water. And so yeah, the melting of that, as represented by this ice, heavily helps. It doesn't help, but like, it increases the sea level very significantly, and yeah,
That's some pretty scary stuff, Toby.
it's terrifying.
But thank you very much for joining us on Tea Time with Toby. We will see you next week for our newest segment, analyzing the length of Professor Tucker's fabulous beard over a cup of delicious tea.
Yeah, come for delicious tea again. Thank you for watching.